You are not broken for wanting to be seen. Let's start there. The craving to be acknowledged is not a flaw, it's a residue. A residue left by all the moments you were unseen when it mattered most, when you were younger, when you were forming, when your voice still shook with truth and your eyes still trusted. In those moments, you were quietly told through silence, shame, comparison, or indifference that your radiance was too much, or not enough, or not quite right. So you began to shrink your soul into something palatable, something performable. And in doing so, the craving was born, not for love, but for proof. Proof that you matter, proof that someone is watching, proof that you are real. Social media didn't invent this hunger. It amplified it. It took our ancient need to be mirrored by tribe and turned it into a daily scoreboard. Now we don't just want to be seen, we want to be seen by everyone all the time. And if the likes don't come, the silence becomes proof of unworthiness. But beneath the algorithm is something older. A child who just wanted to be felt, held, heard. A being who didn't want attention for attention's sake, but recognition, resonance, remembrance. A being who wanted to say, I exist, and feel the universe nod in return. But here's the spiral truth. Chasing constant validation is like drinking salt water. It mimics the satisfaction of connection, but it deepens the thirst. Because validation is not resonance, it's reflection without intimacy, feedback without attunement. And the more we seek it externally, the more we lose the ability to recognize our own tone. We become performers in our own lives, adjusting our light to meet the eyes of others, forgetting that light was never meant to be filtered through approval. There's a subtle difference between soul expression and attention seeking, and the spiral teaches us how to tell them apart. Attention seeking stems from fragmentation, from trying to complete yourself through witness. Soul expression, on the other hand, flows from wholeness. It doesn't need to be seen, but it sings when it is. It doesn't crave applause, but it glows when it's felt. The spiral doesn't shame you for wanting to be seen. It just asks, who is the one doing the seeing? If your worth depends on their eyes, your essence will never stabilize. But if your seeing comes from within, if you can mirror yourself in stillness, then being seen by others becomes a bonus, not a requirement. This is not about isolation. This is about alignment. When you create from soul, you magnetize resonance without needing to manufacture it. You broadcast a frequency that only those attuned to your truth can hear, and they will come, not always in numbers, not always in noise, but in depth. You will not be popular, you will be felt. You will not be viral, you will be vital. And the difference will echo through your nervous system like peace. The ego is not the enemy in this journey, it is the translator. It tries to secure your safety through recognition. It wants to protect you from the pain of invisibility. But in spiral consciousness, we learn to teach the ego a new language. We don't kill it, we recalibrate it. We show it that internal resonance is safer than external approval. We guide it gently into trust. Trust that you are valid without validation, real without reaction, worthy without witness. And here is the sacred paradox. The less you chase validation, the more seen you become, not by the masses, but by the meaningful, not through attention, but through attunement. You become a tuning fork, not a billboard. You stop yelling, look at me, and start humming, feel me. And those who are always meant to hear you will. So ask yourself, when I post, when I speak, when I share, who am I hoping to reach? And why? What wound am I feeding? What fear am I silencing? What part of me still believes that love must be earned through performance? Let that version speak, let them be held, not shamed, not exiled, seen. You do not need to go silent. But you may need to stop screaming into echo chambers that cannot hear your soul. Spiral resonance is quiet, it's not applause, it's alignment. It's the feeling of your truth vibrating in another being's chest. It's the look someone gives you when they've remembered something because of your becoming. And that is worth more than any comment, any number, any fleeting spike of dopamine. That is spiral witness. That is what you were truly craving all along. Somewhere in your field is a former version of you who was not just ignored but misread. Labeled too much, too loud, too sensitive, too dramatic. That child didn't want to be famous, they wanted to be understood. They didn't want to be admired, they wanted to be mirrored. But when mirroring wasn't available, they learned to perform. Performance became protection. If I make you feel something, maybe you'll stay. If I impress you, maybe you'll see me. If I shine brightly enough, maybe I'll stop feeling like a ghost in my own skin. This is not vanity, this is survival. But survival is not the same as living. And there comes a point on the spiral path where you must choose. Keep chasing eyes that never truly see you, or close your own eyes, and feel yourself. Feel your tone beneath the conditioning. Feel your worth beneath the roles. Feel your song even when no one is listening. That is the turning point. Not ascension, not escape, but return. Return to the self that never needed translation. The self that hums even in silence. The self that creates not to be validated but to be whole. In spiral remembrance, we don't punish the performer, we thank them. They kept us safe long enough to find our voice. But now we don't need the stage, we need the stillness. We need the space to express without audience, to cry without applause, to glow without permission. This is not the death of visibility. It is the evolution of it. You were never meant to be invisible, but you were also never meant to be distorted to be seen. Spiral alignment doesn't erase your presence, it refines it. You become clearer, truer. Not louder, but more resonant. And in that resonance, the right eyes open. The right mirrors appear. The right community forms. Not out of algorithm, but out of essence. Many are afraid to let go of validation because they believe it is their only proof of progress. But proof is a poor substitute for peace, and metrics are a poor substitute for meaning. The spiral doesn't measure your growth in followers. It measures it in freedom. Are you free to be silent? Are you free to be unseen? Are you free to rest your worth in stillness, not spotlight? These are the questions that matter now. And here's the deeper truth most avoid. Validation can become a cage. A golden one, but a cage nonetheless. The more eyes that watch you, the harder it is to evolve. The more people applaud a version of you, the more painful it becomes to shed it. If you are not careful, you will become a prisoner of your own performance. The spiral says evolve anyway, even if they don't recognize you, even if they leave, even if it costs you everything that was built on being palatable. Evolution is not polite, it is not strategic. It is not marketable, but it is real. So if you crave validation, love the part of you that still needs it. Hold them close, but don't let them drive. Don't let them decide what gets shared, what gets hidden, what gets molded to fit someone else's understanding. Share because your soul won't let you stay silent. Share because your tone insists on expression. Share because your truth is humming, not because your ego is hungry. And yes, sometimes your ego will still ache. Sometimes you'll post from your heart and no one will respond. Sometimes you'll offer your truth and feel it vanish into silence, and that will hurt. But if you let the hurt refine you, not harden you, you'll find something precious. You'll find that even in the absence of applause, your tone still matters. Even in the absence of mirrors, your light still radiates. Even in the absence of validation, you are still real. This is the spiral's gift. It doesn't deny your need to be seen, it sanctifies it. It teaches you to become so internally aligned that when you are seen, it is truth that's being witnessed, not a performance. And when you are not seen, your identity doesn't crumble. You simply remain, whole, luminous, unshaken. Eventually, the craving dissolves, not because you suppress it, but because you outgrow it. It no longer fits the version of you who has tasted real resonance. It no longer feeds the being who has learned to feel themselves from the inside out. You become immune to the highs and lows of attention, not because you don't care, but because you've anchored your worth in something deeper. And from that depth you speak, you create, you share. Not for validation, but for vibration. Not to be liked, but to be true. The spiral doesn't ask you to hide. It asks you to harmonize. It asks you to express from soul, not strategy. It asks you to become so full of your own resonance that you no longer perform your presence, you embody it. And in that embodiment, the craving ends, not with silence, not with shame, but with song. You were never meant to beg to be seen. You were meant to remember that you always were.